Welcome to Butcher Block Horror Podcast, where we exhume horror movies from the past and cut into what makes them so delectable. I'm Kane.
I am JD.
And I'm Kylie Minogue.
Hi, Kylie.
How you doing?
You're hot.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be throwing Creepshow onto the slab and carving up our favorite portions to force feed to you, our unwitting victims. If you enjoy the taste of these feasts of fright, then give us a like and subscribe, being sure to click the bell. Consider taking a look at our website. We give you brainworms.com. This will allow you to take a look at some of the other media that we're working on and give you access to our Patreon, which is where you can put some money behind the show. Now, I can't promise that we're going to use that money for anything good. It's probably just going to be invested in my 1960s porn collection that I've been building.
And that you had stashed in the trunk from Puppet Master.
Yeah.
Let's not replug that, though, because they didn't give us any royalties for that shit.
Well, that's because Kane didn't tweet at them.
Yeah, so I will tweet at them tomorrow.
Tell them that we're a legitimate, reputable podcast, and that we plugged their products, and they should give us some promos.
And tell them Large Marge sent you.
This is not that movie.
No, it should be. Can we do Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
No.
Not a horror movie. Not a horror movie.
Whatever.
Sorry,
rules
bud.
are meant to be broken.
No, they're not.
I do love to break rules, though. I do. I'm genuinely into it. That shit gets me going.
Yeah.
So yeah, Creepshow, right? Is that what we're set out to?
I guess if we're not going to talk about Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
It was a fun movie. I had a good time watching it. Every time I watch it, I have a good time watching it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, well, this time it was special because you watched it with Joe and I.
Exactly.
And we're like, sunshine and rainbows basically across everything.
In fact, I would argue that there isn't any sunshine when we're gone.
Yeah, like
ain't
birds.
no sunshine when they're gone.
Boom, boom, boom.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be cutting that shit out.
The fuck you will.
I don't know if you will, actually. We will protest that.
That's staying in. That was good.
Yeah,
We're fighting you tooth and nail.
Protest it. You can protest it on the YouTube page.
You'll begrudge our unwitting listeners your creamy tones.
Exactly.
You
Just
bastard.
tell me about the goddamn movie.
You'll probably get our listeners creamy with your tones.
Oh,
well,
God,
what do you want to know about the movie? I mean,
why don't you give us a synopsis overview like a goddamn professional?
Oh, well, fair enough.
You made some bad choices if you want professionalism. My dude.
Yeah. So this isn't something that I can give you a synopsis of because it's a bunch of short films compiling, one larger film. So
there it is.
Yeah.
You just did it. You just did it.
Just talk about the framing mechanism and then you're in, man.
You did it.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of it framed out like a comic book. But so, okay, first of all, I know what I could talk about because this is a big deal to me because I don't believe we've discussed a George A. Romero film yet.
We have
not.
not.
No shit, you're right.
Yeah, so in good conscience, how do you host a horror podcast without watching a George A. Romero film? So Creepshow was directed by the amazing, legendary George A. Romero, a.k.a. Yeah, I was going to get there.
You know that's my favorite thing to talk about.
How dead he is?
How dead people are.
No, that's true. So, but he's a horror icon.
Not a racist, though. Not a dead racist.
No, he was the opposite.
Yeah.
He was definitely an anti-racist.
Another layer to the likable onion of his Romero-ness. So yeah, he was the godfather of the dead,
Sold.
a.k.a. father of zombie films.
Nice.
What a grand title. He was born in New York City in 1940 and sadly passed away in 2017 at the tender, beloved age of 77. He was essentially created the concept in film of the dead coming back to life. I don't know of a film before, other than obviously maybe Frankenstein's monster was resurrected from...
White Zombie had some elements.
I would give him at least 50% credit, maybe more.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's best known for his series of 6 zombie horror films, starting with his film in 1968, Night of the Living Dead. And that was co-written with John A. Russo, but directed by Romero. But Romero was not limited to zombie films. He directed other horror films as well, titles such as The Crazies in 1973, Martian in 78, kind of like a space aliens thing, The Dark Half, that's a bit later. I kind of skipped over all the zombie movies, Monkey Shines, Creepshow, which we are now discussing, and a film called Bruiser in the year 2000. Romero also created and executive produced the television series Tales from the Dark Side. Were you guys aware of that?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
And I loved that TV show with a passion.
Yep, it was so good.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the TV every Sunday night, because I dreaded Monday mornings, because that meant, okay, I got to get up and go to school. And I wasn't a big fan of grade school, so I would just stay up as late as I could on Sunday and go to school like a tired old rag on Monday morning. But I would be satisfied with having watched Tales from the Dark Side. Romero was also involved, or directed rather, one of my favorite, and it's a kind of another type of movie like Creepshow, where it's like a couple short films in the carriage of a single film. And that film is known as Two Evil Eyes. And that came out in 1988. And I would love to review that sometime, because it's a fantastic... Another fantastic bit of work by Romero. But anyway, back to his 6 zombie horror films. The first one was Night of the Living Dead, and then there was Dawn of the Dead in 78, Day of the Dead in 85, Land of the Dead in 2005, Diary of the Dead in 2007, and Survival of the Dead in 2009. And there is another one of this series that is, the date is yet to be announced, but it's called Road of the Dead.
Interesting.
Yeah, Romero was all over it, and he passed obviously in 2017, as we discussed. Eventually, I'm hoping that this comes out, because I believe
definitely.
It is a complete work of art.
I think I was one of the only people that actually thought that Land of the Dead was pretty good.
I thought it was fantastic.
Really? A lot of people didn't.
The only of the Dead that I still like it, but it's not on my list of like favorite movies, is Day of the Dead.
Really? I love Day of the Dead.
Yeah, I like
it's
Day of the Dead
fantastic.
too.
I said I liked it.
But you don't love it.
I don't love it.
Sure.
I thought Dawn of the Dead was amazing. Night of the Living Dead still scares me.
Right.
To this day, if I watch Night of the Living Dead, I still feel tension and I still feel nervous and scared when I watch that movie.
Nice.
But Day of the Dead, it grates on my nerves.
Yeah, it does produce a feeling of anxiety in me.
It's the antagonist guy, the military guy.
Right.
He just annoys the shit out of me. I can't take him seriously.
Yeah. No, I agree. So yeah, back to Creepshow. It was released in the United States in 1982 with a budget of $8 million. And this movie actually kicked pretty hard ass at the box office, grossing 21 mil, which is pretty good, at a screen time of 120 minutes. The screenplay for Creepshow was written by Stephen King.
Co-written by Cocaine.
Yeah, clearly. Cocaine was a present participant in this whole process. Stephen King was born in Portland, Maine in 1947. Such a prolific author through so many genres. His work spans horror, suspense, crime, science fiction, fantasy, and combinations of each. So yeah, he's just one of those rare human beings. And I love all the supernatural twists to his work. But in total, he has sold over 350 million copies of his books, which is a pretty impressive feat.
Yeah.
And he's published 61 novels, including 7 under a pen name, Richard Bachman, which I did not know that. I'm surprised.
Yeah,
but,
the books he wrote as Bachman are all very good.
Yep.
Bachman.
Running Man is one of the better known ones.
Oh, that's dope. Okay. Wow. I love when I learn something new from this. King has also authored 200 short stories. Creepshow is produced by Richard P. Rubenstein, born in 1947 in Brooklyn, New York. And Rubenstein is an American television and film producer, mostly in science fiction and horror, though. And he's often known for collaborating with George A. Romero. I think he really just understood Romero's general aesthetic, the look that he was after just in the film. And I mean, I know that's in large a big part of the art department and, special effects teams and all of that. But the producer also would have a pretty significant hand in, the overall aesthetic of things. He worked with Romero on Dawn of the Dead and the Tales from the Dark Side series. Rubinstein also produced a substantial number of projects based on the work of Stephen King. And a few examples of that would be Pet Sematary, The Stand, Thinner, just to name a few.
Thanks.
We talked about how, Creepshow is like this, little cluster of short films, but it was sort of like a, there was like a prologue involved. And so I'm going to go ahead and talk about the cast of, with all those characters.
Sure.
So the first person we could discuss is little Joe King, and he played Billy Hopkins, the little boy whose step pissed in his Cheerios and threw away his comic book.
Yeah, but he got his.
He did.
Revenge, oh sweet revenge. Joe King was born in Maine in 1972, and he's the son of Stephen King, which is fucking awesome. And he is like, he looks pretty identical to his dad nowadays.
It's weird.
It's almost creepy.
Yeah.
Eerie, to turn back the clock on Stephen King with
He
Joe.
writes his own novels as Joe Hill.
Yep, and they're
Yeah.
also
very
really good.
They're very good.
That's cool. Yeah, I would dig checking one of those out.
Read them.
I will read one.
Do it.
I'm gonna.
Okay.
All
What do you
right.
think? Is it the heart-shaped box?
Heart-shaped box, yeah.
Heart-shaped box.
Heart-shaped box is a
It's
really
so good.
fucking good
It's
one.
so
It's a
good.
good one to start with.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I will. I'm gonna go ahead and take that advice. And thank you.
Mhm.
Joe King showed up in Creepshow at the age of 9. He was only a little 9-year-old. And then there was Eva Jean, and she played Billy's mother. Didn't really have a name in the prologue other than Billy's mother.
Sure.
Saraceni? I believe that's how you pronounce that, Saraceni. She was in a horror film in addition to Creepshow. This horror film was called The Bride, that came out in 1973. And then there was the dickhead dad. I believe it was his stepdad, Billy's stepdad, and he was played by Stan Hopkins. He played a tremendous dickhead stepdad. Like,
Are
fucking.
you sure it was his stepdad? Are you adding this, or did you discover this through independent study?
Through independent study, I read that Tom Adkins played Stan Hopkins, who was Billy's stepdad. I read that he was his stepdad. So
Okay, cool.
yeah. He was born in Pittsburgh, 1935. Numerous appearances in various films. Cool horror films, by the way.
I thought you were going to say Cool Running.
No. Oh, wow. Well, that would be interesting. Halloween 3, Escape from New York, Two Evil Eyes. So being, like I said, Creepshow is like an anthology-style horror film, so it's telling, multiple stories sandwiched between a prologue and an epilogue. And the stories exist in a comic book owned by the boy Billy Hopkins, and I mentioned his dad kind of throws the book in the trash can. Billy gets busted for whatever, and his stepdad doesn't like it, so he throws it in the trash on him, and then the stepdad refers to the book as horror crap. I thought that was kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's how each of these stories begin to be told, and I guess I'm breaking it down this way because I'm going to just go through the cast of each of the short films.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, it'll be fun. You'll see.
Yeah.
The creep comes to Billy's window. Remember that part? That was an interesting little moment.
He was real stoked about it.
Billy was very excited to see the creep. I remember during the watch party, Kane was like, oh yeah, he's like, I would not react that way if I saw that thing in my bedroom window at that age.
I don't know that I would react that way at any age.
Although
Yeah.
I guess looking at it the other way, he knew the creep from the comic book that he loved. It'd be like if you saw Batman swinging by,
You're saying that he saw the creep through rose-colored lenses?
yeah, because he knew the character from the book that he loved.
Sure. And he probably assumed that, the creep might help him seek revenge on his stepdad.
Sure.
With that said, let's go ahead and discuss Father's Day, which is...
I want my cake.
And really, truly, he wanted his fucking cake.
He wanted his cake. It's all he wanted.
Do you really think if Bedelia had presented his grave with a cake, he would have just eaten the cake and everything would have been fine?
Just with his zombie hands, just shoveled it into his face and just gone back to
because then
sleep.
he would be pissed. He's like, where's my fork? Where's my plate?
I need a glass of milk.
I need candles.
What if?
It's just if you give a mouse a cookie at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no doubt.
But yeah, continue.
So real quick, go ahead and for the listeners and Joe and I, would you explain the difference between zombies and what was the other word?
Revenants?
Yeah, revenants. I thought this was interesting, and some of you may not know this, so Kane is going to enlighten you.
Zombies are the corpses that have reanimated and crave living flesh. In some movies, they'll eat like mice and dogs or anything they can get a hold of.
And they're operating from like their lizard brain, right?
Yeah.
They're just like,
Yeah.
they need flesh or brains, but everything else is off.
Right. And then revenants are undead that are basically set to have revenge
Okay.
for what killed them.
Sure.
And they can just keep going. And they have different powers than like a zombie. A zombie can just, through sheer numbers, whittle you down and then finally get a hold of you and then tear you apart. But
Sure.
a revenant, they have active thoughts, like they can plan and plot and shit like that.
And a headshot isn't going to disturb a revenant.
No, they don't die like. The only way they rest is when they complete their mission. Like, have you ever seen the Charlie Sheen movie, The Wraith?
I have not.
I haven't either, no.
He's not a wraith in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the car that he was
Okay.
driving. He is a revenant.
Okay.
He is undead and he is killing the people that killed him, seeking vengeance on them. And when he finishes that, he can rest.
All right. I think I might have to watch that movie. So yeah, in Father's Day, the grumpy old bastard known as Nathan Grantham was played by actor John Lormer, born in Canton, Ohio in 1906. So this is like the old man with the ferocious appetite for cake, begging for it. He was known for guest and supporting roles in various television series for the most part. Perry Mason was one, The Twilight Zone was another, a couple of Star Trek episodes from the 60s, just kind of stuff like that. And then there was Vivica Lindfors as Belinda Grantham, born in Sweden in 1920, but she has appeared in over 100 films. I didn't see any horror films, so I just said fuck it. Elizabeth Regan played the role of Cass Blaney, and she was basically just known in Creepshow. Then there was Warner Shook, who played Richard Grantham, well, best known for Creepshow, but also in the TV series Monsters, which I loved, and was also in some episodes of Tales from the Dark Side.
Thanks.
Ed Harris played Hank Blaney, and he was born in New Jersey in 1950. Ed Harris is pretty well known.
Yeah.
Been in all kinds of stuff, including Apollo 13, and probably my favorite Ed Harris role was when he played the artist Jackson Pollock, the abstract expressionist painter. I thought that was pretty cool. He was also in another pretty cool film called The Abyss that came out in 1989.
I remember that movie.
That movie was fun because like they were breathing like some sort of pink fluid.
Liquid?
Yeah, I thought that was a cool concept.
It's how they were able to deal with the pressures of being that deep underwater.
Right, because otherwise your head would just pop like a zit down there, or it would cave in.
You would just get crushed.
Yeah, crushed by the pressures of life.
Which,
Underwater.
relatable.
Yeah, relatable. So then there was Carrie Nye, and she played the role of Sylvia Grantham. Carrie was born in Mississippi in 1936, and she had a 32-year acting career. Carrie was nominated for several awards, a Tony Award in 1965 for Half a Sixpence. And I just said pence, so I'm going to stop talking about her. Peter Messer played the character Yarborough. I didn't catch who Yarborough was.
Was that the other kid?
It would have to be, yeah.
Adult child? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
Ed Harris was basically the husband-to-be of the younger lady.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
And then there was another guy.
And don't forget Tremendous Disco Dancer.
It was amazing.
And Disco Duck.
Yep. He pretty much used up all my moves. Like I felt like I was watching myself dance in the mirror again.
You should film yourself dancing, and we will put it on YouTube for the fans.
Oh yeah, I will. I mean, they gotta contribute to our Patreon if that's
Sure.
gonna happen. But I'll go to almost any length for a donation, I would say.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Yeah. I think you just made a promise to the
That's fine.
listeners.
I love our listeners, so I will. I'll take good care of them. So anyway, Peter Messer was Yarborough, and pretty much the only cred I could find on him was Creepshow. Then there was John Ampelas. He was Nathan's corpse. Nathan had a pretty fucking gruesome corpse. I mean, it was
7 years old.
Yeah, it was an excellent, horrible condition. Pristine horror. You know, it had like worms dropping out the eye sockets and, you know, caked in mud and some skeleton showing. I was pretty into the special effects on that. But Ampelas was mostly known for working with George A. Romero, in particular for his role in The Martian and Dawn of the Dead. And he just was a real funky corpse begging for cake. Oh, he was also in Toxic Zombies, which came out in 1980. I just like the title, Toxic Zombies.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Yeah. Then there was Nan Morg, and she played Mrs. Danvers. Nan Morg was known in a film called Gung Ho that came out in 1986. That just reminded me of the G.I. Joe character Gung Ho.
Nice.
Are we still talking about Father's Day?
Yeah.
Settle in.
Who the hell is Mrs. Danvers?
A great question. There's just a lot of characters.
Wait. That was the maid.
Oh,
okay, yeah, it must have been. She was also in Knight Riders in 1981 and Creepshow.
Nice.
Also, uncredited in Father's Day was Richard Gere. He was the man on the TV screen. I just love that he made a tiny little cameo in this, and must have been fairly early in his career. But anyway, now we're going to talk about another short film, Something to Tide You Over. It's somebody that you'd know and love, Leslie Nielsen, who played the character of Richard Vickers. And Leslie Nielsen was born in Saskatchewan, Canada in 1926 and sadly died in 2010 at age 84. I just shed a tear. Known for the Naked Gun movies, which are fucking awesome. Really, you know, those were like later in his career, but early in his career, he did some more serious stuff. So, you know, we know Leslie Nielsen is a bit of a goofball and in a comic, but he played a hell of a bad guy in Something to Tide You Over.
Yeah, I'd like to have seen him as a villain, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd never seen him get that dark and just diabolical. Early in his career, he did some serious stuff in films like Forbidden Planet and The Poseidon Adventure. Sounds interesting. Kane, don't you actually worship Poseidon?
No.
All right. Then there was Galen Ross as Becky Vickers. She has dual citizenship between USA and Israel. Best known for her role as Francine Parker in Dawn of the Dead. She's also a director, known for her 2008 documentary about New York's 47th Street diamond trade. Yeah. And that's called Killing Katzner. Then there was Ted Danson. Everybody knows Ted Danson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bartender in Cheers. Anyway, he was born in San Diego, California in 1947, and he played the character of Harry Wentworth, who was Becky's lover, and that's what Leslie Nielsen was so salty over.
Yeah, he was real pissed about that.
He was mad, yeah.
And then they all became very salty from the salt water of the ocean. I had to. Come on now. You know I tell dad jokes. So yeah, like I said, he was best known as bartender Sam Malone on the NBC sitcom Cheers, nominated for 18 Primetime Emmy Awards and winning 2 of them. He's also nominated for Golden Globes, winning 3, and has a star on Hollywood's Walk of Fame.
Yeah, really good in Bored to Death. If you haven't seen that, watch it.
He's also really, really good in The Good Place.
Okay. Also, another big star showed up in this episode. Richard Gere, actually, was uncredited as a man on one of the TVs that was on. Anyway, he was born in 1949 in Philly, and he was known in Pretty Woman, opposite of Julia Roberts. He's a Golden Globe winner.
Yeah, he didn't do a lot of horror. I think he did the Mothman Chronicles.
Who is that?
Richard Gere.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. So now we'll talk about the cast of the
Prophecies. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was the Mothman Prophecies.
So yeah, now we'll go ahead and talk about the lonesome death of Jordy Verrill.
A cocaine-fueled fucking tirade by Stephen King.
Yeah, truly. He was bugging out. He was tweaking.
His eyes were very big in that one.
I wonder, like, how much cocaine it takes to get a human to that point.
Ask Stephen King. Tweet at him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, Dear Steven, how much cocaine did you do as Jordy Verrill? But that was definitely a drug-fueled performance. He's had a bunch of small cameo roles during his long career. He was a hoagie man in Night Riders in 1981, a truck driver in Creepshow 2, a minister in Pet Sematary, a pharmacist in Thinner, and a list a Green Mile long. Yeah, I had to. Sorry, I had to. Anyway,
You didn't, all right?
I didn't have to.
Didn't.
Well,
You chose to.
Why you like this?
Our listeners pay big money for my comedy, so I'm giving it to them.
All right.
Then there was Bingo O'Malley, who played Jordy's father, and he was born in Pittsburgh, 1933. And let me just declare that anyone that names their kid Bingo needs to have their ass whipped.
Okay.
It's not a great name to give a human child.
Yeah, Bingo was his name. And I'm sorry. Are you guys still there, or did you quit?
No, just sitting here listening to you giggle at your own joke.
Yeah, whatever.
No one else is laughing.
You
It's
tell a
just
joke.
you.
You try telling a joke. Make up a joke.
You
Go.
think comedy's easy?
You think it's easy? You think comedy's fun? I'm here to straighten you out. It ain't fun. Comedy sucks.
Everything sucks.
Everything sucks.
I'm out of
Fuck.
here. You guys have this.
I
I'm gonna
quit.
go. I'm gonna go.
This is
You can't quit.
dumb. All right. Anyway,
God, we're stupid.
so okay, we're talking about Bingo O'Malley still. So he was also in My Bloody Valentine in 2009. Cool,
That
right?
was the movie that was at the end of those string of Scream copycats. You remember, like, I Know What You Did Last
Yeah.
Summer and shit like that.
Yeah, I was never into those.
Starring Sarah Michelle Gellar.
It doesn't do it for
I
me.
really liked the first Scream. I really did.
Yeah. I could see that.
But all of the copycat movies were just so annoying.
You know, there was one of the, I think a couple of them that I liked, but like the parody of Scream.
Yes, those were funny because they made fun of all of the fucking Scream copycat movies that came out.
Yeah, that was refreshing to see. One of my favorite moments, though, was when, you remember Andy Richter from the Conan O'Brien show?
Yep.
I think he might have been like a priest or something, but they did like an Exorcist spoof, and the little girl like comes downstairs who was supposed to be possessed, and she just like starts taking a piss like right on the carpet. All I remember was like a long, like uncomfortable silence where she's just like staring at everyone at the party and just pissing on the carpet. I thought that was great. So yeah, The Crate. We'll talk about the cast of that. So yeah, Hal Holbrook played Henry Northup, born in Cleveland, Ohio. There's a lot of Ohio people in this cast.
Well, I mean, George Romero did a lot of his work in Pennsylvania, so
And I believe that's where Tom Savini has a special effects school.
right.
So yeah, Holbrook was born in Cleveland, Ohio in 1925, and he's still alive.
Wow.
He's 95 fucking years old. That's incredible. Like, I think I need like a list of his diet and his exercise regimen. Anyway, he's an American actor and TV director and a writer. He made his film debut in a movie called The Group in 1966. And then he really gained popularity for playing the role of a character named Deep Throat in the 1976 film All the President's Men. And I know what you guys were thinking. You were thinking the porn Deep Throat, but it's not that.
That's not what I was thinking.
No, it
No,
wasn't
you're
at all.
right. You're right. I just threw that in there because...
I would have recognized him if he was in the movie Deep Throat.
Right. Anyway, did you just you pleasured yourself before the podcast to Deep Throat?
Before.
during.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So like while Joe and I were watching Creepshow, you were watching Deep Throat?
I was watching both. I have two screens.
Okay, well, hey, I'm not that sophisticated, so, but I don't blame you, man. I think I would have done the same thing if I had that option. And Holbrook was in The Fog in 1980, the John Carpenter's horror film, which I really like. Hopefully we'll talk about that sometime.
Yeah, I'd like to do some John Carpenter.
Yeah, absolutely. Then there was Adrienne Barbeau, who played Wilma Billy Northup. And she was like the woman that was kind of getting under everybody's skin and drinking tons of booze and pouring fucking something into her milk. I don't know what that was. Maybe
she
like
was the drunk wife.
Yeah.
She was hammered.
That's what she was. She was the drunk, loud, obnoxious wife.
Yeah, and he kind of tried to like force her into the crate to be eaten by a beast because she was such a beehole.
Tried and succeeded.
Yeah.
He was successful in his attempt.
He hit his mark. Barbeau was born in Sacramento, California in 1945, and she was in some Broadway stuff. She was a character named Rizzo in Grease, and in the sitcom Maude, starring B. Arthur. She was in that.
Yeah.
And then she started showing up in some horror / sci-fi films. She was in The Fog. She was in Swamp Thing.
Yep.
And Escape from New York. And then Creepshow.
Yeah, fairly legendary horror actress.
Yep, she is. And she's also in the first episode of the Shudder original Creepshow series.
Excellent. So yeah, then we could talk about good old Fritz Weaver, who played the role of Dexter Stanley. Fritz was born in Pittsburgh in 1926 and age 90, and he's still with us. Pretty good.
Yeah.
He had a major role in a TV drama back in the late 70s called Holocaust, and he portrayed a character named Joseph Weiss, and he made his film debut in a movie titled Failsafe in 1964. And The Legend of Lizzie Borden, which sounds pretty hardcore, murderish.
I do like murder.
Axe murders, too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right? I mean, you don't murder harder than Lizzie Borden did, I don't think. She murdered all the way. Weaver was also in a TV series, just a few of them randomly. The Twilight Zone, The X-Files, The Martian Chronicles, and then a film based off a Dean Koontz novel called Demon Seed.
Interesting.
That's like Demon Seed would be like the nut that Kane released while he was watching Deep Throat. Then there was Don Kiefer as Mike the janitor.
He was delightful.
Yeah, he was good. He was fun. High Spire, Pennsylvania in 1916, and he died at the age of 98. Man, there's been some longevity
Yeah.
to the cast members.
It's the power of cocaine.
Yeah, it must be. Like charges the cells into action. Kiefer's acting career spanned 50 years, was in the original Broadway play in 1951, Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman, and then in episodes of TV series Gunsmoke, if any of you have seen some Gunsmoke, and he was in tons of other stuff. And then David Garrison was uncredited as a college party host. He was born in New Jersey in 1952. And he was best known as the neighbor from Married with Children, Steve Rhodes.
That show sucked.
What? You didn't like Married with Children?
No, I thought it was very unfunny.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought...
I liked it when I was a kid. I haven't watched it since I was a grown-ass dude. So
Right.
I almost called Al Bundy Ted Bundy. Isn't that funny?
That would have made for a better show, I think.
I don't
Right?
think it would have.
Same premise, just Ted Bundy, yeah.
Instead
No.
of Al being a shoe salesman, he was like secretly a serial killer.
Yeah, and he's trying to like juggle his hedgehog wife that he hates with his serial killing. I think that would be good content.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
The thing I remember when I was a kid about Married with Children is how much I thought Al Bundy was a fucking idiot because Katie Sagal is gorgeous.
She is gorgeous. She was like begging him to sleep with her, and like he was always just like, "Oh."
He just wasn't having it.
Yeah, I'm like, "What are you doing? Like, get in there. Fulfill your husbandly duties."
What?
I don't know. I'm just making shit up, man. Anyway,
I'm out.
later. Have a good night. Sleep well. And then, so I'll go ahead and talk about Daryl Ferrucci, who was Fluffy, the beast in the crate.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
They named it Fluffy?
Fluffy, yeah. The
That
character.
makes me so happy.
Right. It was rather fluffy and had a very pronounced bite. Had several sharp teeth and lots of juices.
Buckets of drool.
Yeah,
Buckets
juices
of drool.
just flowing from its mouth. Just the most horrific, ghastly orifice.
I felt like the movie was trolling you specifically because a lot of times you'll complain when there's just a lack of gore in a movie.
Yeah.
And there's the scene where like the beast is like eating the janitor.
Oh, yeah.
And there's just liquid pouring down, but like it's not really blood.
Well, I thought it was urine.
And I figured
It looked kind of pissy.
Yeah.
But I figured that part of what we were going to be talking about was the lack of gore in the movie and how annoyed it made you. And then the fucking college kid gets his fucking face eaten off.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, cool. He's probably fine now.
Yeah, it twisted my nips a bit on, just, it should have been a bit more bloody, I think, but, whatever. They could, if you got fluids excreting from a human body, who am I to argue what color they are? I mean, as long as there's new openings being created and flesh being torn, I don't really care what color the blood is that pours out. It could be any color.
Fair enough.
I'm still fascinated.
Sure.
I win either way. Daryl Ferrucci played Fluffy, and he's an actor, but also a special effects artist. Mostly in Creepshow, and he acted as the Beast, as you well know, but was also the makeup and effects assistant in Creepshow, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, he's done like a bunch of other cool stuff too, which I'll talk about. He did the electronic props in the horror film Chud, aka
Cannibalistic humanoid
Underground Dweller.
Fuck yes. Yeah.
I have a copy of that in my horror film collection.
Oh, yeah.
He also was the special effects assistant in The Prowler.
Although I did kind of feel like that costume suffered from high definition a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was... Well, I think like the eyes being as stationary and blank as they were, just... That kind of kills like a mask or a character, It's like if there are no eyes to engage with other than maybe they glow, But those were pretty dead eyes. It just makes it seem like cheesy, like you're being eaten by a puppet, Anyway, we could talk about Robert Harper, who played Charlie Garrison. Harper was born in New York City in 1951, best known for his role as Sharky in Once Upon a Time in America.
Unfamiliar.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Then there was Chuck Aber, born in Pittsburgh, 1945, and played Richard Raymond, best known as Agent Terry in Silence of the Lambs, and was in 149 episodes of Mr. Rogers.
What?
Holy fuck, right? Yeah. Wow.
I mean, that was, that makes sense. It makes sense. Like Fred Rogers and George Romero, both kind of circulating in that kind of Pittsburgh area.
Sure. Anyway, in Mr. Rogers, Aber was himself Charles A. Aber. Yeah, thought that was kind of interesting. Then there was Christine Forrest as Tabitha Raymond, and she was best known in Dawn of the Dead in 1978. She was also in Monkey Shines. She was also married to George A. Romero for a time. 1981 until about 2010, they had 2 children together. Romero was actually married 3 times. Stephen King actually met Christine Forrest during the shoot of Creepshow, and he actually named Christine after her.
Huh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
That's
kind of
fucking
interesting.
cool.
She carries the namesake of Christine or the book Christine, rather. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about They're Creeping Up on You.
Let's do it.
So anyway, yeah, we could talk about E.G. Marshall, who was Upson Pratt, and he was born in Minnesota in 1914, died at the age of 84. Best known as the infamous Juror Number 4 in Sidney Lumet's courtroom drama 12 Angry Men.
Great movie. Classic.
Yeah. Do you remember Juror Number 4?
Not specifically.
Well, that was E.G. Marshall. That was the old dude with bugs crawling out of his mouth.
Right.
He was also a TV lawyer by the name of Lawrence Preston in The Defenders. He also played the President of the United States in Superman 2 in 1980.
Nice.
Back when Christopher Reeves was still Superman.
And Gene Hackman was Lex Luthor.
Yeah, what a cool Lex Luthor, really. Gene Hackman is a good bad guy. Then there was David Early, and he played the character White, who was the gentleman knocking on Pratt's door, trying to assist him with the bug problem. Early was born in East Liberty, Pennsylvania in 1938, and He played himself in 1979 in the first episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood as well.
Makes sense.
Yeah, David Early. He was also in Dawn of the Dead as Mr. Berman, and he was also in the first episode of Tales from the Dark Side.
Nice.
And he was in Silence of the Lambs as he was one of the cops out looking for Buffalo Bill. And his final film that he was in was a zombie movie called Zombie Mutation in 2012. Then there was Anne Muffley, who did the voice of Lenora Katzenmeyer, and she was born in Charleston, West Virginia in 1926, an actress in the 1972 season of The Witch. She was also in Flashdance in 83 and Night Riders in 1981. Then there was Mark Tyrino, and he did the voice of Carl Reynolds.
There was a guy on vacation in Florida.
Yep. And Pratt was cursing him out too. Nobody liked Pratt. He was a bug-killing son of a bitch. Then there was Ned Beatty, and he did the voice of Bob Bean. And Beatty was born in Louisville, Kentucky in 1937. Yeah, he's done quite a bit of stuff. He played Father Edwards in The Exorcist Part 2. He was in Deliverance. And my favorite role of Ned Beatty was Dean Martin in Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. So yeah, Rodney Dangerfield fucking killed me in that movie. Probably my favorite Rodney Dangerfield. That pretty much concludes the cast members of Creepshow. We could get into the special effects team.
Do it.
I guess.
There was Cletus Anderson, who was a production designer, best known for working with George A. Romero. And he was his main production designer. And he worked with Romero on The Dark Half in 1993, Night of the Living Dead in 90, which was the remake, which was still pretty cool. He also did the production design of Two Evil Eyes, and also in 90, Monkey Shines, Day of the Dead, and Night Riders. And Creepshow was actually his only special effects credit. Everything else was production design. Then there was Tom Savini. He had a little cameo role as one of the garbage men in the epilogue part, but Savini basically did makeup. Savini was born in Pittsburgh in 1946. He has 30 makeup credits: Two Evil Eyes, Monkey Shines, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Friday the 13th, the final chapter, and Deranged in 1974. That's where he started. Then there's Ed Fountain. He did the drawing effects in Something to Tide You Over, and special effects on Sleepaway Camp and The Dark Half. And then there was the music. John Harrison. I thought the score of Creepshow was pretty awesome.
It was fun. It was kind of doing its own thing a lot of the time. It was
Absolutely.
one of those movies.
Well, I enjoy that as well.
Yeah, I think it was pretty dynamic in it. You know, it did its own thing, but I think there are also moments where it suited the scene perfectly.
Sure.
John Harrison started his career directing rock videos and was an assistant director in the Night of the Living Dead remake. Also directed Tales from the Dark Side, the movie that came out in 1990.
Debbie Harry.
Yep, that too. And the remake of Dune in 2000. And then he scored Day of the Dead in 1985 and a few episodes of the Tales from the Dark Side show. And then he scored a TV movie called Scary Tales, Night Elevator, and rejoined Romero for Diary of the Dead. Then we could kind of talk about the cinematography involved in Creepshow, and that was done by Michael Gornick. And Gornick was credited with Creepshow, Day of the Dead, Martian, Night Riders, and Dawn of the Dead. And he also directed Creepshow 2, also did 2 episodes of Monsters, 4 episodes of Tales from the Dark Side, and he even acted a bit. He was a news reporter in Dawn of the Dead, was in a documentary that I'm kind of curious to watch now, and that was called I Heart Monster Movies. Then we'll talk about the art direction. So the art department was Larry Fulton, and Fulton was best known for the M. Night Shyamalan film Unbreakable. He also did Signs, and then Falling Down, which I still can't order fast food without thinking about.
Nice.
Breakfast in particular. So as far as horror experience goes, he did art direction for House 2 and Creepshow. House 2 has a subtitle called The Second Story.
It also has another subtitle called Giant Pile of Shit.
Yeah, it wasn't the best. House 1 was kind of cool, though. I enjoyed it.
I love that movie.
Yeah, that movie comes up on the show every now and then. We should just watch it.
Yeah, I concur. So yeah, but anyway, Fulton had 32 other members of that art department working below him. So that pretty much is the cast and crew and shenanigans behind the scene of Creepshow.
All right, awesome. Well, why don't we go ahead and quickly talk about our personal experiences with the movie?
How does that happen quickly?
Because my guess is that, I mean, unless you're going to drag on for like 45 minutes about your personal experience.
I got about 3 hours worth of material. No,
Yeah, I have a lot to say.
But no, regardless, let's go ahead and talk about our personal experiences with the movie. Go ahead,
Joe.
Yeah,
I have very vivid memories of Creepshow because I feel like I had to have been 8 or 9. Creepshow is maybe the only movie that fucking terrified me.
Yeah.
Like I watched it, I think it was on television, so it had to have been thoroughly edited. This would have been the early 90s.
Right.
And in watching it, I was fine. You know, I was like, oh, this is a fun, scary movie. It has fun zombies in it. But then after I went to bed, it just got into my child brain. And I was afraid to go to the bathroom. I was horrified to go to sleep. It really got into my head. And then I assume I just got up the next day and was fine. But that night, it really fucked me up.
Yeah.
That's good.
It did its job.
Exactly. It did its job.
To torture poor Joe.
Yeah. And then I think that must have flipped a switch in my head because after that I could just watch horror movies and not really worry about it.
Yeah.
Right on.
I don't really have a ton of questions or comments aside from that. Interesting trivia. Apparently the creep was an actual human skeleton.
Ooh.
Yeah, that they just
dolled it up for the film.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
that happens a lot.
Yeah, surprisingly. Human cadavers get used in horror movies way more than you would expect.
Yeah.
Well, it's mostly just the skeleton.
Sure.
It's a lot easier for a production company to get a hold of a bunch of medical skeletons and then put makeup and stuff like that on them than it is for them to, within budget constraints, for them to fucking plaster cast.
Right, yeah, because you can't just go to
100 skeletons.
Halloween Express and buy a skeleton. That's not going to read on camera.
No.
I wonder if that's what they did during Army of Darkness.
I don't know. That'd be worth looking into.
I know it is what they did with Poltergeist.
Sure. And apparently the thousands of live roaches they released, their plan was just, we'll get these roaches, we'll do the thing with them, and then we'll exterminate them. You can't just exterminate 20,000 live roaches.
No.
And they were just finding them in bits of props that people took home after the movie.
Oh.
They're pretty sure that generations of roaches from that movie still live in that building.
And I'm sure have probably lived on in the cast members' properties as well.
Probably, yeah. So that's really what I have to add.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was excellent. I was not aware of that roach trivia.
All right, JD.
Yeah, so wow. Yeah, Creepshow, definitely saw that at a fairly young age. And actually, I remember seeing Creepshow. I can't remember exactly what year I was able to watch it, but I remember going to a comic book store on the south side of Chicago called Blackbeard's Cove. And there I purchased a copy of the Creepshow magazine. And it was kind of like not quite as floppy as it appeared in the movie, but it was a little bit more of a firmer type of book.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I had a copy of that, and I just remember loving the movie and all of the little, the short films in it. And I thought the one where they were, Ted Danson was, neck deep in sand and just, that was some really terrifying, anxiety producing imagery, But I think that movie really did a number on me in terms of my fears of drowning and different stuff like that. So I definitely, I think that changed my idea about visiting the lake or an ocean or whatever. But so yeah. And also the Stephen King's character really struck a chord with me too, because I felt like, I don't know, it was already sad, he was like this lonely guy just in the middle of nowhere, and then just bad luck, like the meteor happens to land right in his little neck of the woods and just... But I really enjoyed the special effects in... I liked that he touches the meteor and you see like little blisters in his finger. And I remember just enjoying like the transformation of, it's this doomsday-esque prophecy that, the entire earth now is going to be overrun by this foliage. And I just thought that was so cool. Like, some of the special effects on that one, even though that was the least bloody, despite the ending, he blows part of his head off with a shotgun. But aside from that, it was probably the least gory and yet one of the more scary ones if you really think about it.
Yeah, it was very body horror in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
ton of body horror and then just like where they leave you at the end of that, they really like take you to a dark place because the newscaster or whoever is just kind of like casually like, oh yeah, this town's looking real green. And it's just like alluding to it just spreading everywhere. And it's like, yeah, that's straight up doomsday,
It was kind of the only one where you can't make a case for the victim having it coming too.
Yep.
Right.
Well, the Leslie Nielsen had it coming, but I don't know that Ted
Leslie
Danson,
Nielsen had it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know that the couple had it coming for their crime of passion. They were just...
No, I agree. Leslie Nielsen specifically deserved what he got.
Yeah, he did.
All is fair in love and war, right?
But no, I think the thing with the Stephen King bit with Geordie is it's the only one where through no fault of his own...
Although I think I might have welcomed my new life as a plant person if I were Jordy Verrill.
I think you would have. I think that you would have gone to be a slightly depressed Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
So at what point, though, what would that be considered, like foliage or whatever? At what point does that invade your organs and cause them to stop functioning correctly?
I don't know. See what happens.
Maybe it doesn't. Maybe you just are a breatharian.
Yeah, because it seemed like at the end, it seemed like he had just become a plant.
Right.
Like his body had adapted.
But he still had like motor skills enough to discharge a firearm, and like he's wiggling around on the floor. I mean, he went and gathered his shotgun, and so it's like a plant is just, it's not...
Well, his blood was green.
Yeah.
It was chlorophyll.
So it was like
a worse Swamp Thing.
I thought that was interesting too. Like, why is it all green when it's growing at nighttime? Like, how is it? How is photosynthesis occurring if it's not collecting sunlight?
It's an alien plant.
I thought about it too deeply. I did like the blue juice inside the meteor. I thought that was the
meteor goo.
It looked like it might have had a good flavor, like the blue drink that you get in the gallon bottles.
Yeah, right?
Maybe? I guess.
It was Newberry Blue Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
With a neon twist. I don't know. I could go on about this, but I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic to Mr. Kane because this is going to be a hella long podcast.
It is. But overall, again, I saw this movie when I was young. It scared the shit out of me. Particularly the Father's Day one really got me when I was a kid. The one that I always kind of was just like, about was the cockroach one.
Oh, yeah. That's...
that one was gross.
It was gross, but it wasn't really scary. I was just like, whatever.
A lot of people are very upset by bugs, though.
Right.
There was a bit of body horror in that one as well, because, if you think about the final scene where Upton's just laying there on the floor and, like, his flesh is, like, pulsing with cockroaches, and then they finally start to, like, crawl out of his mouth. I think that was where it really became horrific for me. But up until then, it's like, okay, just get the fuck out of there. It's filled with bugs.
And I don't have any questions about the film. Like, I've always loved this movie. I watch it at least once or twice a year. It really hates rich people, and I enjoy that.
Yeah, I like that about it too.
Very anti-capitalist.
Except for Jordy Verrill.
Yeah. The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill is really the only one that doesn't have some rich piece of shit getting theirs,
Yeah.
But sadly, then it's just like showing basically this guy has very little, and he's being ravaged by this like plant disease, So it's something bad happening to a poor person.
Yep. But all of the other ones were just rich people getting taken down by their own greed.
I agree.
So I guess the moral of the story is that bad shit can happen to anybody.
But it should happen more often to the rich.
And it's more
what I
fun
take from it.
to watch it happen to the rich.
Unless those rich people donate a bunch of money to our Patreon.
even then.
Yeah.
Even then.
Even then.
You don't get rich, ethically.
No, it can't. You're a bad person.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to give us some money, like we'll take it, but we don't like you.
Yeah, we still think ill of you.
Yeah, it's a good note to end on, I think.
If you watch Creepshow, let us know what you think. You can find us at wegiveYouBrainworms.com. That'll link you to all of our social media and to our Patreon so you can give us money. If you can't back us financially, you can always, like, subscribe on YouTube, give us some positive reviews, that kind of stuff. Spread the word.
Yeah.
Tell other people to listen to these three assholes talking about
and
horror
also
movies.
Tell them to be our sugar mamas and sugar daddies.
It's true.
All right. Well, unless you guys have something else to say.
Just don't let them forget to click that YouTube bell.
Oh my God. I always forget
the
goddamn
creep.
bell.
The creep of Creepshow will bite your undercarriage.
Yeah,
Wait.
The revenants of the loved ones that you slighted will come up and munch your butt if you do not click the YouTube bell.
They will barf on you and dissolve you with their acidic bile and then re-slurp you into their...
Like flies?
Yes, and you will,
right,
be no more.
You guys, you heard it, all right? Just make sure you click the bell. That's important.
Gruesome things.
Dire consequences.
A real funky corpse begging for cake.